Hey guys, Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina. We've got Estelle in studio this morning or this afternoon, this night. Estelle Wolfman and Mike Upham with us here in studio. We're going to be talking all about nearshore and offshore fishing tips, tricks, and more, answering your questions live during the show, talking about what we're catching, what we're seeing, and showing you photos, and talking about the weather too. So hopefully you guys are ready for a great show tonight. Don't forget to comment where you're watching from, and make sure if you're watching on Facebook to like the video, share it with your friends on your favorite fishing group or on your timeline. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel. If you're on Instagram, don't forget to like the video, and then keep in mind on Instagram, you're only seeing the center of the screen. So you're only seeing my beautiful face. If you want to see the rest of my panel here, you got to go to Instagram.com on your phone's browser and watch the video through the website browser. That way you can turn your video sideways and see the whole screen. So keep that in mind if you're watching on Instagram. Yes, we have guest stars tonight. Congratulations. Thanks for joining us, Chris Collins. Terry Feather, appreciate those stars. Robert Holshouser, what's going on, man? Deborah Nolan, thanks for watching. Hope you and Mac are doing well. Michelle Johns, thanks for tuning in from Dallas, Georgia. Dallas, Georgia. That rings a bell. I was talking to Jason Cubero today. He's from that area, I think. Georgia. Tim Dykes, thanks for those 200 stars. Appreciate you. Adam Franklin, thank you for those 500 stars. Lori Reinhart, one of your lady angler, what is it? Hubbard's Marina Lady Anglers?
Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina.
There it is. It's a Facebook group if you're a lady angler and you want to meet and greet and talk with other lady anglers. Not so much just of Hubbard's Marina, but just in general. Check out that group. It's a free group on YouTube, where you can meet and greet and talk with other lady anglers. So Lady Anglers of Hubbard's Marina. And I'm sure Josh has already dropped the link into the chat. Yeah, he already did. See, he's on top of it. I knew he was going to do it. So with that, let's go ahead and roll into these photos and show you guys what we've been catching inshore. And then we'll work our way near shore and talk about the weather real quick. And then after that, we'll roll right into some questions and some interviews with our esteemed panel here. Esteemed panel, you like that?
Yeah, that's using that word loosely.
So we've been seeing the Jack Crevalle. Jack Crevalle bite has definitely been pretty good in the Back Bay waters. A lot of these Jack Crevalle moving in schools at night during the day. There's no telling when you're going to run into those Jack Crevalle feeding aggressively. So stay tuned when you're inshore fishing. You'll see them roll through. They're a lot of fun. Anything moving fast, they'll pretty much attack, and they are a fun fighting fish. Redfish bite has slowed down a little bit. They've spread out a little bit, made it a little difficult to find them, but mangrove shorelines at high tides, we've been having a lot of really high tides lately, bringing those redfish up along the mangroves and around the oyster bars. Definitely been finding them, just a little bit trickier. You got to work for it a little bit more. And been seeing some nice snook even still around our passes and around the beaches, which is surprising this time of year. Typically they've pretty much all moved into the back bays, but still haven't seen all the snook leave the beaches and passes. They're hanging around where that bait is, and they're still feeding very actively. Snook like that nastier weather. This past weekend, we had that big cold front. Even in the midst of the weather, they're still pulling in those snook. The snook love ambushing passing baits in areas where they can easily feed, and that adverse weather condition makes it really easy for those snook to ambush passing baits very easily. So been a good time to catch them snook for sure. inshore, and been seeing the redfish, the trout bites picking up, starting to move shallower. All those inshore species are starting to transition for sure. But we're going to move our way near shore and show you guys what we've been catching near shore and see near shore and offshore, and seeing what's been going on out there. The gag grouper bite's going extremely well. Estelle, you said you had trouble catching them on your last trip?
Thank you very much, Captain Dillon.
I was a question. I wasn't inferring anything.
Yes, I caught all of my ARS and a scamp, but the elusive gag
Eluded you.
It was elusive.
Oh, okay. I apologize. I was
But I'm going
confused.
on Tuesday, so I am going back out there.
Going to get your revenge.
Yes.
See, the last trip you were probably too focused on those red
Yes,
snapper.
I was.
So you got distracted, and that's the problem.
Yes,
Mike,
that
how
was
have
it.
you been doing on the gags? You went out on a recent trip, right?
Yeah, the same trip Estelle got her scamp on. I got a nice gag and a limit of red snapper. And
Screw it.
That was epic, Josh.
technical alignments there.
I need to get the mic out of her face.
Estella's too bold. Is that what you're saying? We gotta misdirect it. Is
Am
that
I
better?
too loud?
Or
No,
could
gotta
you
get
not
out of
hear?
her- No, it was blocking her.
Oh, I gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe a telephone book would help.
Yeah, I've got a very large head, so in ratio,
Mr. Seat.
Yeah,
in
we just get her
ratio,
to sit on a telephone book should be.
Can this chair
Yeah, the
raise?
chair can go up.
yeah, you gotta pull, you gotta stand up a little bit.
Pull the handle.
Oh my gosh, it was all the way up. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. It's not quite as bad now.
Back to the gag.
Yeah, back to the gag. Mike, what were you saying about your gag grouper experience recently?
Yeah, the gags are out there. We're catching them. The 39 that I was on 2 weeks ago, the last trip of red snapper season, we got a good amount of gags on there. All quality
Yeah.
fish.
You caught
All,
two, didn't you?
all good sized fish. I got 2 gags. And,
Look at him being all humble.
rubbed
He
it in.
wasn't
No,
even
no, no.
gonna say.
He's
well-
rubbing it in.
But the scamp that she got.
So he caught 2 to your how many?
Zero.
But you caught a nice skin.
I let him catch.
I was going to say, now you're jinxing me because day after tomorrow,
We're out
gotta
again.
go
That's
at
why
it
he's
again.
playing humble, and that's a good approach. I do the same thing. It's like I haven't caught any mangroves because you don't want to end the streak. You know, keep it up. But
I'll
yeah,
tell you, the mangroves that we got were all good quality fish, too.
they've
Yes.
been
It's
big.
amazing how
Yeah.
big they have been.
It's been big mangrove snapper. We've seen a solid gag grouper bite, and then the big scamps mix in.
Yeah.
Definitely been a good time to get out there and capitalize on that good weather in those weather windows while you have them, because the gag fishing has been great, but it's all about those weather windows and timing your trip around that weather the best way you possibly can to try to capitalize on that good bite of fish. Been seeing a lot of gags on the Flying Hub 2. We on the back side of that red grouper closure, we kind of frantically changed the schedule around for the Flying Hub 2 a little bit, but we've since added back in a lot of 12-hour extreme trips because the gag grouper bite's going so well. So a great opportunity to book some Flying Hub 2 12-hour extreme trips before the end of the year and get a chance at some of those gags. The 39-hour trip has definitely been doing very well on the gags. If you want to get out there and get a chance for a solid gag grouper, really the 12-hour extreme 39-hour trips are your best bet, or a long-range private charter on the Flying Hub 2. Definitely want to get deeper. You can catch them near shore, but you're not going to catch the 12, 15, 20, 25, 30-pound gag grouper really regularly near shore.
Leo?
That was Leo.
Leo.
The
Nice
man
gag.
himself. Legendary
Yes.
Leo. Definitely a lot of big gag grouper have been caught lately. The big mangroves, as Mike Upham just said, we've been seeing a good average size of these big mangrove snapper. I think the trip that came in this morning was the winner was just, I think, close to or just above 6 pounds. I don't remember exactly. It was caught by Jim Kendall. We've been seeing some mangrove snapper winning the jackpot upwards of 7, 8, 9 pounds. Yeah. Sean caught that big mangrove snapper and this nice blackfin tuna.
Yeah.
That wasn't even on the troll, was it? That was on
dropping a pinfish.
Wow.
A pinfish or a threadfin. I forget which one it was, but he was bottom fishing, and it was he was reeling in, retrieving the bait, and he thought maybe one of his smaller snappers that he was reeling up got eaten, and it ended up being a blackfin tuna, and it wasn't really fighting super crazy. He didn't even realize it was a blackfin tuna until it hit the surface. It just kind of came right up, made it real easy for him, and nice catch of fish, to say the least. Nice surprise.
Probably didn't tangle the whole side of the boat with it either if it came up that easy and had control of it.
Made real easy. You get that fish up quickly. Been seeing some big yellowtail mixed in, which has been a nice surprise. Speaking of Leo, he said he caught a yellowtail snapper that was probably close to 5, 6 pounds and only retrieved the head. Big fish on. He's reeling. All of a sudden he gets thumped even harder on the way to the surface and ends up only bringing in the head of a yellowtail snapper.
Sometime, right?
Yeah, and the guy caught a yellowtail that weighed in at around 5 pounds, and him and Leo agreed the head that Leo caught was probably almost double the size of that 5-pounder. So it was a solid yellowtail.
Man, I'm shocked to see Jim Kendall. All the things I've been seeing with him on Facebook, he's been all over the country. And
he's a
Hawaii.
Traveling fisherman.
He's been fishing. He fished up in New York where I used to fish for salmon.
Yeah. He was in Georgia fishing that area and some streams. He was up in New York for salmon. He was in Hawaii recently. He's been all over for sure. It's crazy. You've been in Hawaii too.
Yes, I was.
Did you go fishing while you were in Hawaii?
I went diving and saw manta rays.
That's kind of close.
Were
there any fish following the manta rays?
Yeah, there were fish.
Cobia?
It was awesome. No.
Her first open water dive ever in salt.
No, it was in salt water.
And she's in there with giant manta rays.
It was
wow,
amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
It was awesome. I tried to go fishing, but they don't share charters, and they're quite expensive.
Oh yeah.
Talk about doing it humbly. Expensive. Jim Kendall, boy, he'll catch up a stringer of fish and you never even know it. He's just back in his corner spot and doing what you got to do to get him.
Undercover angler.
Yeah.
John Martin with a big old gag grouper. Jim with another nice mangrove snapper. These were all from the trip that just got in this morning.
Did John win the
grouper jackpot? Yeah. No, he did not. I did not see him. Yeah. And I don't know who did, but I remember seeing the jackpot photo, and it was not John with the big grouper. Jim won the snapper jackpot, but it wasn't John with the gag jackpot. Definitely, recently, the big gags have been loving that live bait. The mangrove snapper have been predominantly dead bait. Scamp grouper, you can catch it on a mix of both, smaller to medium pinfish. You can catch them fishing for mangrove snapper with thread fins, catch them on a diamond jig, working the bottom there. How'd you get your big scamp?
Thread fin.
Thread fin fishing for mangroves, cut up, plugged on a double snow?
Yep.
That's how I caught 2 big scamp grouper recently on the Flying Hub 2 trip too.
You know, since you brought that up, and that was a question that I wanted to see what your opinion was for the show tonight. You know, we use live pinfish and we put them down, and after a while they either just become slow or dead or whatever, and we bring them back up, we take them off, put another one on or whatever. Why is it we don't catch fish on dead pinfish?
It's not natural.
But I mean, we catch them on dead threadfin. I'm saying the comparison between the two, is it the oiliness of the fish, or the way that we prep it by cutting? No,
that's a good question. I mean, in my opinion, the dead pinfish is a dead fish because it's passed away, because it's been stressed out. It was caught in a trap or caught in a hook and line or caught in a cast net. It was then put in a live well, then put on a boat, then taken 70 miles offshore, sloshed in a live well. Then it was hooked, dropped to bottom, reeled up, dropped to bottom, reeled up. it's been beat up and then it died. So at that point, it's dead.
It's just undesirable to the
exhaustion. It's beat. Whereas the thread fin that you're using for bait is caught in a purse seine net or a big seine net and then is immediately frozen. So it's not necessarily a dead bait. It was frozen fresh, alive, and preserved frozen. And then you're salting it, you're brining it. It's nice and oily. Whereas that fresh dead pinfish is dead because it's totally stressed out or totally overworked or totally overpressured. And it doesn't have any of that scent going because it's almost dried up.
Because I said this to Estelle earlier, being a question that I had and was going to bring up. So even bringing it up, if you have the decent sized pinfish, like butterfly, butterfly.
Oh, you can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if I had a couple big pinfish and they died because the live well gave out or they just didn't make it out there and they weren't super beat up, yeah, I would butterfly them or even plug them, cut the head, cut the tail, and just use that meat chunk. But I wouldn't, if you drop down a bait, you reel it up, and it gets so lethargic because it's been dropped down and reeled up a couple times, I wouldn't reuse that bait. But if you have fresh dead bait, like fresh dead shrimp, fresh dead pinfish, fresh dead anything, that's good bait. But if it's a live bait that you've used and abused and it's
once
beat,
it's done, it's done.
it's done.
Okay.
Yeah, take it off, toss it out. And butterflying the bait works really well. And basically what butterflying does is you're then taking a dead bait, removing the backbone, and giving it that motion. And it
some
basically
of that oiliness, I guess. Scent.
Yeah, gets the scent going in the water. So you're mimicking a live bait plus adding the scent. So butterflying the bait works really well. So I like butterflying some of the baits you catch out there. But again, pinfish aren't natural. You go out there 200 foot of water, there's no pinfish around for miles. So like catching something like a sand perch or a porgy or a white grunt, those are going to be more natural baits to those fish. So even if they're fresh dead, butterflied, that's going to work better than a big pinfish butterflied because
because I butterfly vermilion on a regular basis and everything, but it just was
well,
kind of curious with
vermilion
the
you can't
pinfish.
use for bait, but porgies you can, and not pink porgies, but like knobbed eye porgies. Some of those porgies that aren't in the FMP we can use for bait, and those work really, really well.
Porgy delights.
Porgy delights, yeah, that's
Will
Will's
makes.
favorite.
Yep.
Yep.
So
So there's a lot of different options that you can use for bait, but definitely some of the more natural species out there, like the big porgies, the squirrel fish, the lizard fish, some of those fish that they're gonna see on a regular basis, that works really well. Definitely a killer bait.
Definitely a good
But
answer because
vermilions and yellowtails and some of those species that we used to be able to use for bait.
We can't use for
Yeah,
bait.
those used to be really good baits when they were illegal to use, but unfortunately you can't get away with that anymore. Or some of the stuff that are puked up. Jake just made a good point. You catch a big fat red grouper, it hits the deck and it pukes up.
Oh yeah.
They always show you what they're eating.
Yes.
And if they spit up something that's big enough to send down there, it's a great bait because that's what they're eating down there, and that's naturally what other red grouper are feeding on. Like that time of year in the spring when you get a lot of octopus out there, and they've always come up with big scars down the side of their face from the octopus tentacles, or you'll catch an octopus. It's a killer bait, sending one of those tentacles down because that's what they're eating. That's what they're down there chewing on. So it makes it for a really, really great bait. But it is time to give away our first free trip of the night. We'll mention the weather here real quick, and then we'll get into some more conversation. So let's see who won our free 10-hour all day. That's a 10-hour all day for 2 guests. Don't forget, in order to win these free trips, you do have to comment one time. And both my guests already commented one time, so they may or may not win too. No special treatment.
Whose idea was that, Estelle?
Yeah, exactly. They just entered the contest too. So comment one time, you've got an equal chance to win. You do have to comment on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream in order to be eligible to win. And then your name is entered into that random name picker. So let's see, Josh, who won that 10-hour all-day for 2 guests. That is a $218 value for Eddie Chaps from Ozona, Florida. I assume that's Ozona, Florida. But congratulations, Eddie. If you're picked as that lucky winner, you have to text us your full home address within about 5 minutes to prove you're watching live. That phone number right below Estelle is the phone number you want to text. Within about 5 minutes, thank you, Vanna. Within about 5 minutes to claim your free trip and prove you're watching live. So, with that, let's get into the weather and show you guys what we're expecting weather-wise. Right here on the Hubbard's Marina website, you can go to Fishing Trips, scroll down, click Weather Links. It brings you to our Weather Links page, which Josh already has pulled up here for us. And the Weather Links page, I really like. It's also under the info tab. You're right, Josh. I also like on the Weather Links page, I like first checking the wind finder forecast to just give you a quick reference guide of what the wind's going to be like. And you can see here we've got a stiffer wind picking up here this week. And you can see tomorrow we've got that north wind still prevalent. We're actually getting another cold front early morning tomorrow. Tuesday shifts to a more eastern weather pattern because we've got a big high pressure settling in. And then we get a little weak front and another high pressure. And then it looks like we should most likely, I think, get another big low pressure there Tuesday, which is going to bump up the weather a little bit. So looking pretty typical for the winter. Low pressure, high pressure, low pressure, high pressure. And the best time to get out there is trying to catch the weather in between these fronts. So let's look at the inshore forecast, the Egmont Key forecast. Tomorrow, going to be a solid 3 foot, 3.5 foot to start the day, then calming down slowly. Tuesday, it's going to shift to a more east weather pattern. So when that wind shifts, you're going to get a momentary lapse in the sea height. So Tuesday looks like a really nice day now. Actually improved quite a bit since last time I looked at the weather. So Tuesday might be a good chance to slip out there on the 10-hour all day. Wednesday, that high pressure settles in more, so we get a stronger eastern wind flow. Thursday, Friday, it starts getting too far away. You can look at this, but it's kind of more of an educated guess at this point, and it can change quite a bit. But it does look like we get another little front there Friday. Wind picks up a little bit on the backside of that low pressure, or the backside of that high pressure, and then that high pressure settles back in behind the front. But looking forward more than 4 days, 3-4 days this time of year is really not recommended, because you can get an idea of what the weather's going to do, but you can't make or break plans based on a weather forecast more than 3-4 days out this time of year. Really even more than 12 to 24 hours out. I mean, Mike and Estelle, you guys were going fishing on the Flying Hub 2 tomorrow, and they had a charter scheduled this morning. Looking at it, it's calling 4.5 foot seas, and this morning it was like, oh, there's no way, we got to cancel. Then by midday, it's like, yeah, we need to cancel. It's still calling 3.5 foot. Just looking at it, it's down to now right around 3 foot, but still 3 foot really probably too rough to get out there in a hurry to those offshore fishing grounds in the Flying Hub 2 with a lot of people on board, because the boat just doesn't perform as well. And being as though you guys are somewhat local, able to reschedule, there's a lot of nice days in Florida to push a private charter on a day where we know it's not going to be as high quality of an experience. And so we try to be as upfront and honest as we can, and they made the decision to wait and go on the Tuesday 39-hour trip. It's going to be a little bumpy, but on the Florida fishermen on a 39-hour trip, you're much more likely to go out fishing, even if the weather is adverse. Whereas the Flying Hub 2, smaller, faster boat, Estelle, you've been out there in adverse weather conditions on the Flying Hub 2. It's a different ball game.
You get wet.
You need 2 neck pillows.
Yes. Yes.
You need 2 neck pillows.
Yes.
No, but that's one thing I do appreciate, Dylan, is that you're right up front with us all the time.
Yeah, and that's all you can do. I mean, we don't control the weather. We can't make fish bite. All you can do is be upfront and brutally honest.
That's why they call it fishing, not catching. And hey, you give us your honest, professional, experienced opinion, and let us make the decision. From that.
Yeah.
And can't be.
That should be our Yelp tagline. It's fishing, not catching.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I don't know who invented fishing, but people always tell me, "Oh, you're into fishing, huh?" No, I hate fishing.
Well, what's funny about that, in my opinion, is kind of the evolution of the angler. Because to some people, fishing is sitting on a bridge all day, maybe drinking a 6-pack of beer and having a line in the water. If you catch something, great. If you don't catch anything, you're still fishing. You're having a good time. And then to some people, fishing is trying different things and trying different areas and finding the fish, hunting them down. To some people, it's filling the cooler.
Right.
To other people, it's watching other people fill the cooler. To some people, it's teaching other people how to fill the cooler. So it's really just where are you at on that spectrum and trying to make sure that everybody is satisfied as best you can, and that it becomes
That's
tricky.
why I don't envy you and your job as far as because you're almost never going to satisfy everybody, no matter how great a trip they have and who hears about it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what job you have, whether you're in airlines or in charter fishing. You can't make everybody
or Amazon
happy.
Flex.
You can't make everybody happy, and that's the biggest thing. And that's what it comes down to, and why I love party boat fishing and even charter boat fishing is every day it's a new set of guests and a new mix of guests. We can have a lot of the same people going out fishing, like Mike and Estelle. They can go out fishing a lot with us, but it's never Mike, Estelle, and the same group of people. It's always a different group. And 1 or 2 people can totally shift the dynamic of a trip for the positive or for the extreme negative. And that's what's cool about charter boat and party boat fishing is identifying that negativity, trying to turn it around to positivity or bring it back to the other side, and then enjoying those trips with the positivity and the camaraderie and learning from those around you and picking up new things. I mean, my grandfather always used to say that, and it resonated with my father. It's resonated with me. Is you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. It's just shut up and listen. That's what my grandfather always used to say. Shut up and listen, and then you'll know what he knows and what you know too. And that was his big saying, and that's true. And
That's very accurate.
I've seen it every day on the party boats growing up. Is just watching other people like Jighead Ed, may he rest in peace. The conversations that I've had the pleasure of chatting with him on, I've learned more in 5-10 minutes about pelagic trolling from him than I've learned from virtually anybody. I mean, just a wealth of knowledge.
There's always somebody on the boat that knows more than you, and you can't ever go get on that boat and think you know it all.
Yeah, not even so much more than you. It's just something different.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a different approach. And maybe they're from New York and they've done a different style of fishing than you. And they might have a different technique that's helping them catch more fish that trip. Maybe it's that trip the fish are a little leader shy and this color of bead is working better than this color, or this hook is working better than that hook, or this certain bait's working better than that certain bait. And those techniques you only pick up on by watching, looking, and asking questions.
Yeah.
That's
And-
how
And
you
then
learn
doing,
everything.
I mean, I find that like changing leader sizes, I always have different leaders tied with different size leader, different size hooks and everything, because if nothing's happening, but the guy next to me is catching fish and the guy on the other side of me is catching fish, obviously I'm doing something that they're not doing, and figure out what it is, put a little
Is that why I
thought
didn't
into
catch
it.
a gag?
Back on that again, huh?
That's a sore subject, Mike.
Yeah, I'm hoping Tuesday changes. I'm hoping Tuesday changes
Yeah.
that, or I'm gonna have to give her a gag.
Yeah, and just so you know, you did offer to give me half of yours, but just so you know, we and the people that were on the charter, we all planned on going the charter and then doing the 39. It wasn't like we're going on the 39 because the charter was canceled. It's like we were
Booked on
we
both.
were hard.
Don't rub it in. I was justifying it to myself, like, oh, you guys canceled the charter. You're still going on a fishing trip.
We still are.
Yeah, but
We
we're doing
still
it with
are.
smiles on our face
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
like I said,
Yeah, heck yeah.
I'd rather you be up front with us and
Yeah, then
find something else to do
Yeah.
in between now and Tuesday. And
To us, it's a lose-lose in that situation. People get so upset when we cancel trips. Another favorite saying of my grandfather's was, it's a lose-lose situation. You cancel the trip because the weather's bad, someone's going to be upset you canceled. Whereas if you don't cancel and you take people out in bad weather, they're going to be upset you took them.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I say I don't envy your job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so in my perspective, what I've gained a lot of peace from in my life personally is this is what the weather's doing. I'll have it posted on the counter. It's on the glass. I talk about it in the seminar. It's everywhere. The captain will mention it before you get on the boat. We've said it 4 times.
And they come
Exactly
back.
what the weather's doing, exactly what we're expected to do, exactly how it's going to affect fishing. And then it's up to you. And it even says in bold red font on the bottom, no one's forced to join us. If you're worried about the weather, if you're worried about the fishing, don't go. We'll cancel, we'll refund you. And people still go out, and people are still upset we took them. Like, hey, it was unsafe, we shouldn't have been out there. It's like, it wasn't unsafe, boat was plenty safe, everybody had a good time, except for you. But we said it, we told you, I begged you not to go.
Yeah.
So, and then on the flip side, in this case with a private charter, being experienced anglers and knowing when the captain's telling you, hey, the fishing's probably not going to be as good, we're not going to be able to get as far, it's not going to be as good of a trip as we want it to be, and they're like, you're right, let's cancel.
I'll call you back in a half hour and let you know what everybody says.
Then
2.5 hours later.
then they made the choice to cancel. So it's different from a party boat trip. Whereas for us on a party boat trip, if it's safe to go, we're going to go. And if we have enough people to go with us, we're going to go. It's ultimately up to you to make the decision. So if you ever show up at Hubbard's Marina and the weather report's on the glass, it's on the counter, and I talk about it in the seminar, go home.
Hey, what I would say to people that haven't done it before is if you're skeptical, get with one of those of us that go out all the time. I've been out in horrendously big seas on the Florida and
yeah.
never felt unsafe, never not caught fish. Sometimes it's even better. But,
Yeah, one of my
you know,
best trips.
you got to make the choice on your own and everything. But
And that's a good point too. What did you just say?
One of my best trips was one of those that.
It was rough weather.
Yeah, I actually caught 2 gags. Yeah. But yeah, and it was.
Wasn't that the trip where you called your shots on the way out?
Yes.
That
Oh,
they
she said-
interviewed Estelle on the GoPro on the way out, like, hey, what do you want to catch this trip? And she was like, I'm going to catch a gag, I'm going to catch this, I'm going to catch that.
a
She went out
gag, a
there and did it.
scamp, and what was it? A gag, a scamp, and a red snapper?
I can't remember that. No, because
She
I
called her
think it was
shots,
in
though.
December. But I called whatever I wanted to catch, and I got it, and it was like whew,
Which side of the boat were you fishing on that trip?
the one that was facing the port.
The port
I do
side.
know now.
Towards the front half of the boat.
No.
She's really worried about you guys booking her spot. So all we're going to say is Estelle likes the front half of the boat.
I think everybody should still try to get the stern.
It doesn't
And-
matter how many times you say it, Estelle. People are still going to want to fish the back of the boat.
Okay, good.
Every year we see it.
Well, I made a terrible mistake, and I inadvertently showed everybody what my favorite bunk was, and I'm recalling it.
She was trying to be helpful.
Yeah,
What-
now I can never get my bunk anymore.
Which
so
bunk? Which bunk is it?
I'm not gonna. Well, But everyone that has had it said it's much too hot there and they didn't like it.
Oh, now she's
So
downplaying it.
don't
Now she's-
go to that bunk.
There's not a lot of good air circulation there. It can be a little funky. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, you do
Don't
not
go to
want
Estelle's
bunk
bunk.
55 or 56. No, no.
She just did it.
Whatever you do, don't book.
Don't book those bunks. I'll tell you.
I feel like this is negatively affecting your ability to book those bunks, Estelle.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Well, I haven't been able to get it, so I had to try something else.
Okay, back to fishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
So
sort of was related to fishing, and we were talking
Sort
about
of.
safety.
sort of. Yeah, we were getting to safety for sure, but I think actually no, we got a little bit of time. So someone said I've seen where she fishes. Oh, see, people are watching.
Who
But
said that?
what we were talking about was the rough weather. The rough weather. So
Yes.
even when we do say it's going to be rougher weather, sometimes the fishing is good, and it's always nice when we tell you, hey, the fishing's going to be slower because the weather's bad, and that has a lot to do with the condition. Like this 39-hour trip that came in this morning, they caught nice gag grouper, they caught big mangroves, they had a good quality catch. They just didn't have a ton of them, and that had a lot to do with the weather. So the cold front came through a little earlier, they had a lot of rain, the boat was moving around more, so with a moving boats bouncing up and down more, you have to more actively fish. The wind's blowing, so it's blowing your line, which makes it more
Harder to
difficult to
feel the
feel the
bite.
bite. I love fishing the bow of the boat, but when the wind's blowing and it's rough, it's a tough area to fish. It
This time of year,
separates-
especially because it's bumpier, and then the grate on the bow pulpits and everything in the bigger sea.
You
It
can't
can
get
be
wet.
trickier.
Yeah,
It
you
can be
can
Just a
get
tricky.
little
wet.
rain gear and a little determination, and you.
Yep.
I think most of us that are out there endure the weather. I think that we're
Yeah.
serious enough about fishing.
I like fishing up towards the front of the boat just generally because you have more fresh
Space.
air, more
And
space, and everybody crowds the back half of the boat. You could have 35 people on the boat, 25 of them are on the back quarter of the boat. The front three-quarter of the boat's much more room to spread out, and just generally all around a better experience in my mind. Even the sides of the boat, off the bow of the boat, because I do like a little bit of shade. If you're all the way in the bow of the boat, you don't have shade at all. Whereas on the sides of the boat, either side of the boat, you have shade at least half the day, depending on the anchor heading and the current and the wind. You'll get shade at least half the day, and then you'll have that ability to be a little bit further back, so you're not quite as high off the water, not as likely to get soaked. So anywhere along the sides or bow of the boat, it's a good place to fish. The stern is not the best spot. The fish finder is in the middle of the boat. So it doesn't matter if you're fishing on the bow, you're fishing on the stern, you're fishing on the side. It's in the middle of the boat. So there's really no one spot better than any other. In my
you
opinion,
can walk around the boat at any given time when the bite's on, and you're catching fish everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. The
Yeah.
best spot on the boat is where the other experienced anglers are. If me, Estelle, and Mike, and John Martin, and my dad, and Will McClure, and Garrett Hubbard are all fishing together, that's going to be the best spot on the boat. Not because it's better than any other spot. It's because these experienced anglers can work together. We're not crossing each other's lines. We're not getting tangled. We're catching fish when they bite. We're not missing fish. And then when Estelle catches a snapper and she's reeling it in, it's spitting up bait because of the barotrauma issues, and it's creating a natural chum slick. And then more fish are congregating to that area, and then I hook one. Same thing, fish is regurgitating bait, then Mike hooks one, and then John on the other side of Mike hooks one, and we're not crossing each other up. We're working as a team, we're rebaiting, we're casting out away from the boat, working together to Estelle lowers her rod tip so I can cast over her, and we're all working together to make sure we're not getting tangled up, we're fishing effectively and efficiently, and everybody's catching fish and not missing bites. Fishing's hot in this area. And then the guy down there, down the side of the boat's like, the captain put his friends on the fish. No. Just they know how to catch fish, and they're working together as a team, and that appears to be the best spot on the boat. It's not because it's the best spot, it's because that's where the experienced anglers are. That's why sometimes the back of the boat appears to be the best area, because those are the experienced fishermen who book early, who book often, and they're fishing in the back of the boat, and you get a couple of them fishing together, and then all of a sudden it looks like the best spot.
That is one of the funniest statements I ever hear, is about the captain putting his friends, because first of all, we're fishing all around the boat, and as good as the captains are at Hubbard's Marina, which they're all top-notch, first-class, years and years and years of experience, they aren't good enough to go out 100 and some miles offshore and with the swing of the boat on the anchor and where
in 200 feet of water.
200 feet of water.
They put me on it.
And not you.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
So it's Garrett's fault because I didn't get a gag.
That's exactly what happened. He told me.
I have somebody watching from Hawaii.
Oh, watching from Hawaii. That's awesome.
Awesome.
How long is the party trip? We have a bunch of different party boat trips, 5, 10, 12, 39 hours, 44 hours. We have private fishing charters, anything you want to do on the water, dolphin tours, island trips. We do it all here at Hubbard's Marina. So lots of options for you. All the options are right there on our website, hubbardsmarina.com. So check it out. What other questions do we have there, Josh? Oh, hey, going on the trip for the supporters trip on the 22nd, what's the best setup to bring? For the supporters trip on the 22nd, it's going to be like a 10-hour trip setup. We're going to be fishing 10-hour trip areas. It's going to be a 12-hour trip from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the 22nd, but we're going to be fishing basically like a 10-hour trip. So we're going to be targeting hogfish, near shore, around 40, 50, 60 foot of water, hogfish, mangrove snapper, maybe some gag grouper. So bring a spinning rod, like a 4000 series spinning rod, and a 4/0 conventional, just like you would bring on a 10-hour all-day trip. Rig up like you're fishing for a 10-hour all-day trip. You can even look at the 10-hour all-day trip website page where it has those tackle recommendations. That would be the same tackle recommendations I have for our supporters trip on the 22nd. Mike Upham and Estelle Wolfman, sorry, okay. Estelle, are both supporters in our supporters group. And our supporters group is basically a Facebook option. It's only on Facebook. And you can become a supporter. It gives you access to the private supporters group. We do a private supporters after show where we just kind of talk more about what we talked about in the live show or what we didn't talk about in the live show, and give you more kind of behind the scenes info through the week, more communication. I do a lot of live videos while I'm driving around in my truck thinking about stuff randomly. So it's just a cool way to kind of get more information, and it's only $5 a month to be a supporter. You get a free t-shirt, and the supporters who were active members at the time of the announcement are getting a free 12-hour fishing trip opportunity on November 22nd. It is just something random that came up that we've been talking about, and we are going out there to film some hogfish tips, tricks, and more. Film some other cool stuff. Our film crew's coming out. I got a new drone that I really just want to fly around, so we're doing a whole fishing trip because I want to fly my drone. That's basically the idea behind it.
Something tells me the hogfish queen over there is not going to be complaining about not catching hogfish.
Yeah, she's going to be
pretty
catching
successful
the hogfish
at getting hogfish.
While we all watch, but it'll be a good time, and that is a supporters group trip, and again, only open to supporters who were supporters members at the time of the announcement. We'd love to have you join the supporters group, but it is too late to be a part of that supporters trip. Still happy to have you in the supporters group, and we may have more future supporters trips down the road. The regulars club is different. I saw some question about the regulars club. Just so happens Mike Upham and Estelle Wolfman are both regulars club members as well. So the regulars club member is a different thing. That is a loyalty program for those who fish 10, 15, 20 times a year or more. And the regulars club information never has been advertised ever before on our website, in brochures, anywhere. For the first time ever, we've created a regulars club information page. Yeah. Wow. This is big. This is big for us. We have a whole website company. We have Hubbard's Marina Media, Josh and Jared, the brains behind Hubbard's Marina Media. So we have a whole media website company, now a drone company too. But but we have a website building company. We've never built a Regulars Club page because we've really never wanted to advertise it before, because it's more of a loyalty program, more word of mouth, and it's kind of concerning to me to even build this out. But we're going to try it. We're going to see how it goes. And we may or may not delete it in a week. But Josh spent a lot of time on this, so I hate to even say that. But it definitely is a pretty cool page. It explains the Regulars Club well. Watch the video, please. Read the information. Basically, the biggest thing about the Regulars Club, it is not a discount program. It's a loyalty program for people who fish often to fish more often, more affordably. So check it out after the video airs. It's under the Fishing Trips tab or the Info tab. Check out the video. And basically, you're kind of held to a higher standard. You got to pay a little bit of money to join, but you get a lot of benefits as far as discounts on the trips, discounts in the store. But you got to fish a lot to make it worth it. And you got to have a good time out there on the water and be positive.
Represent.
So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, represent, help others.
Yeah.
Answer
Just
questions.
be a good person out there on the boat.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Be nice.
Be a Hubbard's regular
Ambassador.
Ambassador, exactly.
Ambassador, that's a
Exactly.
good word. Can
Ambassador.
we get ambassador shirts?
Yeah, you're wearing it. You're wearing it. You get a Regulars Club shirt and a supporter shirt.
Oh, okay.
You want another ambassador shirt?
You must be hell on Halloween going trick-or-treating. That's all you
Can
got?
I have 3 pieces of candy?
Like Thanos over here trying to collect every one of our shirts.
Oh, my gosh.
Well, just to mention that our Lady Anglers shirts are going to be
Available?
Oh, yeah.
someday soon, but they're stuck in the...
No, it will be quick. It will be very quick because Sean at Salinity Gear turns around those shirts really quick. Now that the art was done, the check was cut, it should be probably any day it'll be
He
dropping
can't
them
get the
off.
shirts.
Ah, you know more than I do.
They're stuck. I talked to Sean the other day. And
They're probably on a ship off the coast of
yes,
California.
they are. Yes.
Might not
and-
be any probably about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they are.
Probably
but-
where our Yamaha motors are too. You got
We
8
will
of them
get them.
suckers floating around the coast of California.
Oh, no.
Yeah, very frustrating.
That's another good point about Yamaha motors is they float.
They do float extremely well, and they propel your boat well, and they're
Yep.
very trustworthy.
Yep.
When they can get them into the United States is the trick.
They are absolutely
Yeah.
the best outboard motor on the market.
Yeah,
Well,
and
hopefully you get them.
everybody's having
permissions.
problems getting motors. I heard the other day from our friends at Pro Marine, Mercury Outboards is on a 72-month
Oh my
back
gosh.
order list.
That's like 4
If you
model
order
years.
a Yamaha motor, you'll get it now in like July of next year, which sounds terrible, but that's realistic. That's 7-8 months, 6 months. 72 weeks.
Wow.
That's a year and a half.
Yeah,
You're
that's
waiting on a
crazy.
motor. That's
I mean, if you're repowering a boat or whatever, that's got to be like crazy that you're
Yeah.
waiting that long and not having.
I drove by Mercury or drove by Pro Marine the other day. Huge, one of the biggest, best boat dealerships in our area. Central Marine, Pro Marine, Masteries, all great places locally. But Pro Marine has all these beautiful sea hunts out front.
no engines.
No engines. I'm like, what the heck?
Well,
There's
the
no
thing
engines in
thing
that
about
boat yard.
manufacturers these days is they hang the motors at the plant when
Yep.
the boats are being built, and that just makes it that much harder on the
Yep.
regular consumer to get a motor. In your case, being commercial, and you got the good rapport and everything going with Yamaha and everything, it probably makes it a little easier for you, but it still makes it difficult
Nope.
compared to say,
Average Joe, yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, most of the time, average Joe boat buyer is going to be buying it from a boat manufacturer. So boat manufacturers have OEM schedules, and they deal with a commercial sales department of these companies like Pro Marine or Central Marine. We deal with Central Marine personally through Yamaha, and Central Marine has an OEM department, and we are OEM because we build our own boats now at our Gulfport location. but it does not help us get ahead of anybody.
Plus the
It
fact
just,
that if they're on
we
a-
deal with a different department, that's all.
And if they're in a container sitting off of Long Beach,
We're all screwed.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
We're all on the same boat. Not in the same boat. We're all on the same boat in that regard. But it is time to give away another free trip. So let's see who won
Okay.
our 5-hour half day for 2 guests. 5-hour half day for 2 guests. That is a $110 value this year. That goes to Gary Agnes from New Jersey. He'll be here in 3 weeks to
awesome.
use that 5-hour half day for 2 guests. Gary, don't forget to claim that free trip by shooting us a text at that phone number below Estelle to claim that free trip within about 5 minutes to prove that you're watching live. So we've got a few minutes left here in the show. So one thing that I wanted to do real quick was thank everybody who sent stars on Facebook for sure. Appreciate you guys. Also want to give a shout out to Gator Gyms at 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South. If you haven't checked out if you haven't checked out Gator Gyms at 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete, definitely do so. They have great tackle selections, the best prices in town, huge number of different options and volume. They have literally shipping containers out back full of tackle. When everybody else is out of tackle, Gator Gyms has it. So definitely check them out. Tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. Also want to make sure to remind you guys, let you know, I screwed up on the 2022 scheduled dates. I told everybody that we were going to release our 2022 schedule December 2nd. I have been selected to be, I've been voluntold to be part of a release mortality symposium workshop deal December 1st and 2nd on mitigating barotrauma and trying to better outreach barotrauma mitigation to the Gulf of Mexico and trying to reduce discard mortality or reduce the amount of dead fish that go floating away from boats in this workshop, the December 1st and 2nd. So I screwed up, and we got to move that date back. So our 2022 schedule is actually going to be released November 30th at 11 a.m. So make sure you're staying tuned to your email newsletters. Make sure you're part of the email newsletter list on our website. You can sign up at the bottom. Regulars Club renewals are starting this week. New Regulars Club members will be signing up just after November 30th. And those of you who are existing Regulars Club members will be reaching out to you within the next week or two to renew that Regulars Club membership. So stay tuned for that, y'all. And with that, we wanted to ask a few questions of our esteemed panel. So, Estelle, we'll start with you.
Okay.
Put you on the spot.
Okay.
What are one thing, one memory, one suggestion, one tip, one golden nugget that you want to share with our viewers tonight about how you can improve your experience while out on a trip with us?
Oh, okay. Well, one thing, and I've noticed this recently, safety is a big thing.
Definitely.
Nothing will ruin your trip quicker if you get seasick, if you perhaps are not as careful as you could be around the boat. It is, we want everyone to have a good time. We want everyone to enjoy fishing and walk around and talk to everybody. But it is a moving vehicle, and there are waves. And I've seen people fall and get hurt. One of even the mates, Jason,
Yep.
fell, and he's experienced. So it's not just the newcomers. Be very careful on the boat because we don't want anyone to ruin their trip. If you have medical conditions, I've been on a boat where we've been on the phone with the Coast Guard all night trying to decide whether to.
And bring your medication.
Yes, bring your medication.
If you have a heart condition, bring your heart medicine.
Yes, and let
the captain and crew know where it is.
The captain and crew know that you have a condition. You don't have to tell everybody on the boat, but please let at least the captain and the crew know so that everybody can be watching for you in case you have any signs of distress. It's, everybody wants to have a good time and go home safely.
Yeah, nothing will ruin a trip quicker than a safety incident or a safety concern. And some of the scariest, most life-threatening situations that I've been in offshore have always been related to or directly due to either the lack of medication, like a condition is known about existing, but medication wasn't there for some odd reason or some reason or another, and then not taking the medication that was there and not letting anybody know, hey, this medication or this condition exists, and if this happens, my medication is located here. The captain and crew should be aware of that. For example, an easy example is diabetes. Mm-hmm. Your blood sugar gets out of whack, a lot of stuff can get out of whack, and your medication needs to be administered, but you're catching fish, you're in the hot sun, you're not drinking water, you might have had a Snickers bar, and all of a sudden things are out of whack and stuff goes crazy, and you have the medication to treat yourself in your bag, but then once stuff goes crazy, you don't have that ability to treat yourself. Whereas if the captain and crew are aware of the situation, they know where the medication is and how to administer it, stuff doesn't go crazy.
Yeah, don't tell the person that's under your bunk, or whatever, or that's sleeping next to you. Tell the captain, the people that are responsible for
your safety,
and it's kind of common sense, when you're out there.
It seems like it's common sense, but it's also health stuff, and people keep that personally, and they don't think about it. You're going out fishing, you're focused on fishing. It's understandable that it occurs, but it's preventable. Yes. It's all preventable, and a lot of little things can add up to a really big thing. So you going fishing, not thinking about it, the captain and crew not mentioning it, and I forget it all the time, and I'm like, man, I forgot to mention that in the pre-boarding seminar. If you have a existing medical condition, please let us know about it off to the side, and we'll make sure we know where your medication is and how to administer it. I should personally say that in every pre-boarding seminar, and I forget it a lot, and it weighs on me.
Well, I fish mostly Tuesday trips, and Garrett is normally the captain, and he always mentions
Garrett's been in one of those situations.
Yes.
Well, that'll change. Yeah, that'll change.
Yeah.
Either,
But also CPACs.
Yeah.
CPACs, they're I've had people tell me, oh, I didn't know I could bring my CPAC, so they didn't bring it. And we do have the ability for people to bring a CPAC. I think you have to bring an extension cord.
Yeah, if you have a
if you have a
CPAP,
CPAC.
I think it's called. Pretty sure.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's correct.
Okay, CPAP.
CPAP.
Okay.
So bring an extension cord and bring a splitter. So
Yes.
bring a three-way splitter and bring an extension cord to your CPAP machine. If you're on the downstairs deck, sleep towards the front of it. If you're on the upstairs deck, sleep towards the back starboard side of the upstairs deck. And bring an extension cord and a splitter. You'll have no problem using your CPAP machine while you're out there.
I had the gentleman underneath me. I'm always staying. Well, I won't mention the bunk because
Yeah.
you already got into trouble.
You've learned that lesson.
Yeah, but he was on CPAP underneath me last week.
And a lot of people will kind of approach me this side. Hey, I've got this. I can't sleep without it. What do I do? It's like, dude, it's becoming more and more common.
Yes.
And the more people I talk to about it, it's like CPAP is like almost like everybody needs it, but not everybody really needs it.
Right.
Some people need it more than others. So yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm kind of thinking about getting one.
And then also seasickness. Do not ruin your trip. Take Dramamine.
Yes.
If you don't like Dramamine, and people say, well, I've never gotten seasick before, but it's a different thing on the boat at night. You cannot see the horizon.
It's different in the Gulf than it is
Yes.
the Atlantic. It's different in the Pacific than it is the Gulf. It's different in New York than it is in the Gulf. So often.
Yes.
I've been in the Navy. I've been traveling the world.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to our veterans. It's Veterans Month. appreciate your service,
Thank you.
and we're the land of the free because of the brave. So I'm not picking on the Navy, but what I'm saying is, I was in the Navy, and I don't get seasick. They get seasick as soon as we get out of the pass because the waves are different on a 40-foot boat or a 65-foot boat than that big Navy ship, or it's different in the Atlantic or the Pacific versus the Gulf. Everywhere you go, it's different. I got seasick when I went up to Michigan and we were trolling for salmon. I'm sitting in the cabin and not drinking. That was my main concern. It was early in the morning.
That was the main reason you
Yeah,
got seasick.
exactly. I wasn't drinking, but yeah, it's early in the morning. It's dark, and we're in these like weird, really weird Lake Michigan waves, and I'm like, oh man, I do not feel good. As soon as the sun came up, I could see the horizon. It was fine, but at night, sitting in the cabin of that different boat in a different sea, got a little seasick. I'm not gonna lie, and whereas in the Gulf, on the boat I'm used to and the sea I'm used to, I don't get seasick. But put yourself at night in a rough condition on a new boat in a new area in a different sea condition, you will get seasick. You're paying a lot of money for a trip.
I have never been seasick a day in my life.
Take the preventative medication.
And every time I
Randy
take...
Hunter just said, wear the patches, and I was
Or
just
the
waiting for
patches.
Dylan to
Yeah.
end what he was saying, because you can go to your primary care physician and tell them you're going on a cruise or you're going on a fishing trip
They'll give you
and
the-
get a prescription for scopolamine. It's a transderm patch, just a little Band-Aid that sticks behind your ear.
Well, you take
Because how
that
many
stuff
times have I
serious,
seen
dog.
somebody sleep 20, 22
The whole
hours on the trip?
Yeah.
Ruin their
miserable.
whole trip. You know, they wasted their money. They ruined the fact that they come back with no stringer. And all it was a little Band-Aid that you get from Walgreens and every primary care physician will prescribe it to you, no questions asked. Just tell them you're going on a cruise or a fishing trip. You put that little scopolamine patch on, and
So
don't
wait.
put it on after we're in the...
What are you saying? You're saying Dramamine will make you fall asleep and a scopolamine patch won't?
No, I'm just saying that the scopolamine patch, I know for sure works for everybody that I've ever...
Oh, you're
that
saying
get
if you
sick,
get
sleep.
seasick, you sleep through
Yes.
the trip. I understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get seasick without the patch, you go in on your bunk because you feel
And
like
you-
crap,
which
and you
makes it
spend
even
the whole
worse.
20 hours
Yeah.
on the bunk.
Did-
Whereas if you had this patch, you put it on before you get on the
Mm-hmm.
boat. Don't wait till you get on the boat. That's too late.
Yep.
Put it on
Same with Dramamine.
the night before, so that it has time to affect your system, and go have a great fishing trip. You won't get sick.
There's Dramamine pills, there's bonine pills, there's the scopolamine patches, there's a variety of
bracelets.
prescription medication, there's the bracelet things. They also make TENS units now, which is just like a watch looking thing that shocks you and that's supposed to make you not be seasick.
Ginger.
Tammy's thing, our galley cook Tammy, she has fresh ginger
Yes.
root pills, and that's always helped me those few times that I have been queasy at night in the cabin. Ginger root will calm your stomach, and to me, in my experience, it's very mental. If you're
agree 100%.
in the cabin and you're smelling something or something setting you off, or you're not looking at the horizon, or whatever's going on that's making you feel queasy, whatever it is, even if it's a sugar pill, if you believe it's going to make you feel better, it'll make you feel better. So what Smokey always jokingly says is slam beers on the way out and don't stop, and you'll have a great experience. And that's true to an extent, because if you're having fun, you're enjoying your time,
Yeah.
you're staying positive, your mind's on having a good time, you won't get seasick. Whereas if you, for a second, oh, it's kind of rough out here, I hope I don't get seasick, you're going to be seasick. Whereas if you take a preventative maintenance thing like the scopolamine patch, you're going to be like, oh, it's kind of rough out here, but my doctor prescribed me this little scopolamine patch or whatever.
Scopolamine, yeah.
That's what I said.
Yep.
And I'm not going to get seasick, then you won't get seasick. You know?
There was a
And the
guy
worst
on
thing you can do is go in the cabin.
Do not go in
not
the
go
Or
in the
don't go
cabin.
in the bathroom and throw up.
Never.
Either.
No, go up to
You're
the
gonna
bow,
get
get some
seasick.
wind in your face, get some fresh air in your face.
Don't throw up if you got fresh air in your face. Throw up off the side, but yeah, go up in the bow,
go
get
in
some
the bow,
fresh
get
in
some
your
fresh air, see the horizon. The worst thing you can do, whether you're on a big boat or a little boat, is to go in the cabin.
Yeah, stay outside, look, focus on the horizon.
Stay downwind of my spot.
Yes.
What spot is that, Mike?
I'm not giving that up yet.
And,
Not until I find a better one on the stern.
and go over the side of the boat into the water. Everybody will thank you because you're chumming up the boat for the rest of us, you know?
Exactly.
So go over the side into the water and stay downwind from your friends
Yes.
and your face. It's always a good idea. And then also stay focused on the horizon and try to keep fishing. To me, it's giving up. If you're outside, you're not feeling good, you're looking at the horizon, even if you throw up. I've seen so many people throw up and then get back to fishing. They catch a fish, and all of a sudden they're not seasick because they're not thinking about it anymore. It's very mental. If you can overcome by focusing on fishing, catching a fish or two, all of a sudden you won't be seasick anymore. But if you give up and you go lay in your bunk and you're like, this is the worst
You're going to feel
experience
like crap and you're not going to ever get
I
better.
want to go home. Then you're done.
Yeah,
You're done
several
for the rest of the
people
trip.
have said, I can't come out
Look at Sean,
anymore."
man. He's
And
got
it's like, no. There was a man that was on the last trip that we were on that actually had a prescription from his doctor that worked to keep you from throwing up after you got seasick. And but that's a prescription from the doctor. But I guess my whole point on saying that is I've seen so many people ruin their trip, and just take the precautions, share your information, and everyone will go out there and we'll have a great time. And fish and be safe. No one wants anybody to get hurt. It's no fun getting hurt.
It is amazing for as many people as go out on each trip. You know, an average of 30 people a trip, probably on the 39s.
Mm-hmm.
Except
I mean,
in
there's-
ARS season.
Yeah, but I'm saying average.
Most
we're lucky.
overrated fish in the
We're
Gulf.
lucky that people do kind of heed the warnings and heed the advice and everything. And other than maybe a hook in a finger here and there or whatever, I mean, I haven't had any drastic, injuries or anything like that on a trip. So the boat's real stable, and the crew is great. As far as reminding you and stuff and keeping the deck clear.
Yep. Always helpful.
Yep.
Try to be safe as you can. So we ran out of time. We had a lot more cool stuff to talk about. Estelle had a great story to talk about. Maybe we might have to film that on the dock one of
we'll
these
have to
days
do
because
that.
we're not going to get to it in one of these live shows. But definitely a great story we want to share with you guys. Biggest thing is make sure you're staying aware and staying safe out there on the trips. So often people get excited, they're not paying attention. And on the 39-hour trips, especially at night, on the way out, the way back, stay in your bunk, stay safe, go to sleep. If you're out on the back deck, don't go try to go up the sides of the boat, especially if it's rough. Stay in the safety of the cabin or the upstairs deck area. You got to be very, very close to safety and be mindful for sure. And this time of year, the wintertime, good idea to wear a knife on you. If you go in the water wearing a jacket, wearing boots, wearing slickers, you immediately have to get all that crap off you or it will drag you to bottom. You go in the water wearing fishing boots, they might as well be cement shoes, cinder block shoes. They will fill up with water and they will drag you down. Slickers, same thing. Fill up with water, you will not be able to swim to the surface. It's like wearing a drift sock or a parachute holding you down in the water. So you watch Deadliest Catch, those guys wear the knife on their bib, right on the slicker sleeve. That is not to cut bait. That is not to cut line. That is to cut the slickers off themselves if they go in the water. And it's a scary thing. I've experienced it personally. You fall in the water wearing slickers and boots, you will sink. No matter how good of a swimmer you are, you will not bring it to the surface. You will fall slowly to the bottom. So be aware. You go in the water in the wintertime in wintertime clothing. First thing you want to do is take it off. Get all that wintertime clothing off. Keep it with you because you can fill it back with air once you get to the surface and help you float. But you want to get it off your body so you can get back to the surface.
They actually make a knife that isn't a traditional knife like you would fillet a fish, but it's encased in a plastic
It's like a fish hook. Yeah.
Yeah, so that you can wear it or handle it or keep
It's like
it in
a
your pocket.
seatbelt cutter.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So that you just put it on the strap of your slickers or whatever, because it's like going down in a moving water in a river. If you go down in moving water in a river and you can't get out of your waders, you have no chance. None.
I never even thought about that because I don't fish moving rivers.
Yeah, well,
waders.
well, Jim Kendall just came from Pulaski, and that's how I learned it, was fishing up there and watching it happen.
Yeah,
but
you fall over in the river. Your waders fill with water.
You got that moving water, and Mother Nature's stronger than all of us. You know, whether it's out on the ocean or on a river or whatever. And if you can't get out of those waders or you can't get out of that slicker, you have no chance. I mean, you got to do whatever you can do to keep yourself on top of the water and to survive.
Yeah.
But not getting out of your slickers is a death trap.
Yeah, not getting out of and keeping what a lot of people, safety conscious people, will do is wear reflective slickers and reflective things, especially in the wintertime. I'm a little bit more conscious of that. People wear those white slickers, the neon colored slickers. It's a good idea, and that's another reason where you keep them with you, because you want to cut them off you if you go in the water, but you also want to keep them with you because you can tie off your the very end of your leg hole where your feet come out, and you can fill it with air and then tie off the waist, and you've got a something to float with a little bit if it will hold air, and it's neon colored white. It's going to attract attention to your location too. So you want to make sure that you keep that kind of stuff with you if you go in the water. Same thing if worst case scenario, a boat goes down, you always stay with the boat. You don't abandon the wreck, because that's what they find is all that stuff floating in the water. They don't find you. You go in the water offshore, you will not be found unless you have something like that that's going to help draw attention to you, whether it's neon colors, reflective colors, or some sort of safety equipment. So ditch bag. If you're going offshore in your own boat, you got to have a ditch bag. You got to have a life float. You got to have life jackets readily accessible, and your ditch bag has to be prepped with the right material. So take it seriously. Take it for all it's worth, and make sure you're prepared if you're going offshore.
And don't ever think that it won't happen to me.
Yep.
Yeah, really.
So often. I mean, look at John's Pass, that bell tower. There's that Lost at Sea Memorial. That thing's chock full of names of people who have passed away in Tampa Bay area going offshore fishing. It's not the deadliest catch, but it is still deadly. And you guys need to heed the weather and give some respect to Mother Nature. Even in the dead of summer, when it's historically nice, you get those afternoon thunder boomers. This time of year, we get those cold fronts. Sometimes they can come in earlier than expected, like this weekend 39-hour trip. You get caught in some of those unexpected afternoon thunderstorms in the summer, or earlier than expected cold fronts in the winter, it can go from zero to ugly real quick. Yep. And if you're
I think
in the
understanding weather and everything is a big thing too. You know, don't just learn about
it's
fishing.
just having respect for the weather.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mother
learn a little
Nature,
bit about
period.
weather and how it moves from west to east for the most part in this part of the world, and being a day or two ahead of what's getting ready to happen on the fishing trip that you're going on. You know, the Florida's a very stable boat and can handle big seas and everything, and we leave and it's nice and calm, but we know that it's going to get a little bumpy. Maybe when we're out there for a while, it gets a little bumpier than we expected. But as long as it's safe, we don't end the trip. But you have to adjust how you move around the
Yes.
boat and other aspects of the trip. So, you know, just kind of learning a little bit about the weather and paying attention to it, not depending on.
And respect for it.
That's the big thing right there, respect. If you've spent your life on the water, or a good portion of your life on the water, you probably learn to respect the water, or respect the ocean and Mother Nature through experience, or somebody else experiences.
Yep. Amen to that.
Yeah.
So with that, ending on a positive note, join us for our supporters after show. It is 9:43 p.m. right now.
You see David Pruitt's question there? Not to interrupt you there, Dylan, but that's
Thought about a personal EPIRB. So personal EPIRB is not suggested or recommended on our boats. So we're U.S. Coast Guard inspected. We have an EPIRB on the vessel, multiple EPIRBs. We have emergency beacons on our radio. We have VMS. We have satellite phones. We have incredible amounts of safety gear. So if someone brought a personal EPIRB on our trip and I saw it loading the boat, I would politely ask them and pretty forcefully ask them to leave it at home. Personal EPIRBs don't necessarily record GPS location, but what they do is if the worst case scenario happened and that stuff hit the fan, they'd have multiple beacons in the water. And it goes from a situation in which the Coast Guard knows exactly what boat and exactly what happened and exactly who to call, to all of a sudden they've got 2, 3, 4 signals going out and they're like, what in the world's going on? It creates a lot more confusion and it's not as a succinct response. Keep in mind, Coast Guard Sector St. Petersburg has one location to investigate incidents. So if a PLB goes off or any sort of EPIRB signal goes off, there's essentially 1 to 2 to maybe 3 people on duty. So if you got 3 or 4 signals going off, they don't just immediately send helicopters. They first investigate, because a lot of times they have those incidents by accident. So the first thing that happens when a EPIRB signal goes off is they call the number associated with that FCC license. So we get a call immediately. And if I answer the phone, if the Coast Guard calls, I'm going to answer the phone no matter what's going on. And when they call and they say an EPIRB signal is going off from this location offshore, send a helicopter. I don't care what's going on, send a helicopter. If it's like, oh, it went off in John's Pass, it's like someone sprayed it or it came off the roof of the vessel or it came detached, don't send a helicopter, please, and charge me that money. But if it goes off offshore, send a helicopter. Something's going on the boats. I don't know what it is, but we'll find out by calling sat phones and this or that. Long story short, if you have a bunch of ELBs on the boat, Mike's got an ELB, Estelle's got an ELB, I've got an EPIRB on the roof, all of a sudden now all 3 people in the Coast Guard sector are now investigating these 3 signals and calling different people, and the response is spread out. The confusion is there, and we don't like confusion.
No.
People's lives are at risk. Let's make a concise, very easy approach to approaching that situation.
So, and along with the personal ones, they're registered to you or as to an individual, as opposed to the ones on the Florida, being a commercial vessel, are registered as a commercial vessel that's capable of carrying. What are we capable of carrying?
And our EPIRB is about $7,000, and it's inspected every 6 months. So our EPIRBs don't play. Your PLB is $150, $200, and it's a personal locating beacon. Our EPIRB goes off, the Coast Guard is going to prioritize that. That is multiple lives at risk, and it is a very serious signal. So,
and they respond to it differently.
Yeah.
As far as
if you're going out fishing with your buddy and he doesn't have an EPIRB on his boat, get a PLB. I'm not downplaying ELBs, and I'm not saying a PLB or any sort of personal locator beacon or personal EPIRB is bad. What I'm saying is if you're going out on a U.S. Coast Guard inspected vessel that already has a registered EPIRB, a personal ELB is or personal locator beacon, PLB, I don't know why I keep saying ELB, is can be bad. So definitely make sure that you keep that in mind.
It's just going to confuse the rescue of the same people.
It's going to confuse the rescue of yourself. Right. You're going to make it worse for yourself. You're going to stay in the water longer, and you're not going to bring personal locator beacons on our boats, because I'm not going to let you endanger the rest of the passengers on the vessel by bringing your own and creating confusion. So you want to be responsible for yourself? Go on your own boat or go on someone else's boat. How about that? All right, so the last thing is make sure you check out our supporters after show. It is 9:48. We are going to start our supporters after show at probably 10 o'clock. It's going to take us a little bit of time to end this one up. So if you are part of the supporters group, make sure you join us at 10 o'clock on the supporters after show. And don't forget to join us every Friday morning, Fox 13, and at 8:15 a.m. This coming Friday, we have our good buddy Dave Osterberg is actually coming to John's Pass to hang out from 4 a.m. to about 9 a.m., I think. So we're going to have a lot of fun this coming
awesome.
Friday on Fox 13. So make sure you check that out. Every Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. on the Real Animals radio show. Our radio show's going on. And then, of course, every Sunday night right here on our Hubbard's Marina Facebook and YouTube channel. And our 2022 schedule will come out October 30th, or November. That's what I said, November 30th, guys.
It was a typo.
Appreciate all three of you, almost in unison. November 30th. Check out our new drone videos. We've got a whole drone playlist on our YouTube channel now. Check that out. Want to also thank our title sponsor of tonight's show, Gator Jim's Tackle, 3301 Pinellas Point Drive South in St. Pete. If you haven't checked them out yet, make sure you do so. And thank you to Gator Gyms for making this show possible. Also want to give a shout out to our partners over at the Real Animals. And a thank you to our other sponsors, Yamaha, Bass Pro, Engel Coolers, Salt Strong, Aquatic Nutrition, Sport Fishing Chums, Cleanse Oil, and Bull Bay Rods. Don't forget to check out Hubbard's Marina on TikTok, Pinterest, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. And with that, it's time to give away our last free trip of the night and start up that supporters after show. So let's see who won that 39-hour trip for one guest. It is a $399 value this year. The winner is Willie Munoz from Lakeland. Congratulations.
Congrats.
Let me know,
That's what
Willie,
she
when
said.
you're coming. I'll pick you up on the way from Orlando.
It's on his
Please
way.
call
Yeah.
this number. Text this number.
Don't call it.
Don't call it.
Text it.
Text this number, please, with your address.
Thank
Within
you, Estelle,
5 minutes.
to prove you were watching live. And we'll see all of you guys on the Supporters After Show in about 19 minutes on the Supporters page. So appreciate everybody tuning in and hanging out. Big shout out to my two special guests, Miss Estelle Wolfman
Thank you,
and
Dylan.
Mr. Mike Upham here, master
the opportunity.
anglers on our long-range trips. So hopefully you come out and see us and get to join them on a fishing trip. We'll see you guys soon. Don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing,
You're
Just too